Step up on us, diamond, 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 diamonds on my wrist. When I step up on us, step up on us.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. The Freight Coach Morning Show coming to you live from Phoenix, Arizona, every single weekday at 10:30 a.m. Central, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, to break down 3 industry articles, just to provide some different insight out there from the prototypical, seemingly endless loop of doom and gloom that has been associated with our industry over the past couple of weeks. Clearly, I am here joined by my friend Matthew Leffler, aka the Armchair Attorney. We are here just to, he challenges me because he thinks like a fucking attorney and I don't. So he brings a different viewpoint out there. What's up, Samantha Bass? Hey, but before we get in, I got to give you guys the VHub trailer report. You guys, asset reutilization is the wave of the future in freight and brokerage alike, you guys. Being able to create a drop trailer pool, especially in today's market, hell, in any market, is extremely essential for you to help separate yourself from the competition that's out there right now. Just to put some stuff out there for you, there's some one-way moves that you guys can do. You guys can get paid $1,850 US to snag some dry vans that are out there currently in Glade Spring, Virginia. They need to go up to the Vancouver, British Columbia area. There's 8 of them that need to go there. There's 6 that need to go to Winnipeg, Manitoba, and then there is 6 other ones that need to go to Edmonton, Alberta. Look into that, you guys. You get paid $1,850 plus the freight you find on top of that. So think about the amount of revenue that you can get just from these one-way only. And then furthermore, there's some round trip opportunities, and you can see it kind of coming across the ticker there at the bottom. There are 2 drive-ins available in York, PA right now. You can load them out, bring them up to the Montreal area. If you have customers in that area, drop and then get reloaded in the exact same vicinity in either Coteau-du-Lac or Boucherville, Quebec, and then come right down to Shippensburg. Shippensburg, PA, you guys, is about 60 miles from York. So think about that as you're bringing capacity to the market. Again, as brokers, our only product is capacity, is trailers. So think creative. Josh Breeze, he's in the audience right now. They're doing that at Freight Bonner right now. They went out and bought their own drive-ins. They know that that's the wave of the future in this industry. So check this out. And then furthermore, that's just for the repositioning. They also have 50 drive-ins in Toronto right now for long-term leasing. So again, for you to be able to create a drop trailer pool at your customers, if you have any customers in the GTA, the Greater Toronto area, you guys look at that. There's 50 of them for long-term. Talk about bringing that to the market to help offset any potential market fluctuations that are out there, because at the end of the day, you guys, we need trucks. So as you can see, the stunning Armchair Attorney is there with me. Make sure, though, before we jump in, make sure we reach out to vhubapp.com. Reach out to my man, Xavier Campos over there. He's my guy. He'll kind of walk you through everything you need. I'm just the pretty face. No, I'm just kidding. But, reach out to Xavier Campos out there. Tammy, what's going on? We love the
Tammy. Hi, Tammy.
You're bringing a smile to my face. My friend Rachel Heaps, what's going on? She's with Project 44. And hell, that's going to be our first article we're going to break down here. But first, I know this shit's been going on for a long time, but we are on day 11 here at the Freight Coach Morning Show, where there is still a parking issue in this industry. And I will not let this die. Even when we're all done thinking it's cool to post about it, I'm still going to bring this shit up until there is a viable solution that's out there. And then also, furthermore, on top of that, there are still some facilities that do not allow our drivers to utilize the restroom. Think about that. Again, I see both sides of it, but bring that up. You want to become a broker of choice right now? Think about that situation. Think about those solutions. And again, we got to help progress this industry. We got to move this industry forward. So yeah, Matt Leffler, what's up, buddy? Armchair Attorney, coming in hot.
It's so exciting to be here and talk about abusive contracting propositions that we see all over our industry. Project 44, I'm a big fan. Four Kites, we got some things to talk about.
Yeah, Project 44, they're my crew. They graciously invited me out to dinner when I was out in San Diego for the TIA conference. I met Rachel Heaps in person. My friend Josh Main, he's I'm going to be meeting up with him when I go out to Florida. Actually, for the TMSA conference, I'll be speaking at that in June, and I'll be going into Florida and I'll be meeting up with Josh Main. Yeah, so let's talk about this, man. Fucking non-competes, dude. They're fucking everywhere. Right. I think I'm going to state it like this. I personally, at the employee desk level, there shouldn't be non-competes at all. But when it comes to like an equity owner who is privy to secure documents, I could see them not having, or them having a non-compete. Cause like, let's be real. That is like insane amount of confidential information that you could have, and you could potentially ruin somebody's business with that. So at the executive equity shareholder level, I can see why there is a non-compete that is put out there. Do I personally agree with it? Not really, but I also understand why they're there. But for the employee level, the entry level carrier sales rep and customer sales rep that's out there, I'm guilty of it. I signed one. I didn't read the information. I'm guilty of that. I signed it. I should, and again, then this is what it's all about, is we got to know what we're signing. Like, let's be real. We need to know what we're signing before we sign. But let's talk about this. So this article comes from FreightWaves. Court denies FourKite's efforts to block Project 44 hirings. I'm going to let you go. You're the attorney here, man. You run. Dan the driver road. What's up, brother?
Oh, it's right here. The Easter basket is here, my friend.
I love
All right,
it.
let's
Sunny
talk about
Sharma.
non-competes.
Let's have a great week.
These are a type of contract called post-employment restrictive covenants. These are contracts where you give up your rights to your employer for a period of time. That period of time is one of the variables. Another variable is how expansive they are geographically. And finally, that last caveat is, what is the business that you can't do? We all believe in contracts, and that's why what we saw the FourKites and Project 44 litigation is fascinating. So it goes in the Chancery Court. That's a special type of court when you're asking for equitable relief. What Project 44 is litigating against FourKites is that two people from FourKites signed these non-disclosure agreements, these non-competition agreements. They're usually buried in non-disclosures or other types of restrictive covenants. But the critical thing here is that these two people, one of them worked there for 6 months at FourKites. The other one worked at FourKites for about a year. And FourKites walks into court and says, Judge, listen, if these people work at my competitor, this is going to cause irreparable harm to my business. I can't survive if these two people go. It's absolutely absurd. Using the legal system to enforce things to make your competition struggle is bonkers. It's ridiculous. And I cannot wait for FourKites to lose this litigation, because they will. They're trying to tell people that if you work for me for however long you work for me, you don't get to do your job anymore. Mm-hmm. And that's absurd. To your point, Chris, for executives, yeah, I can see the reason why you wouldn't you might want to sign a non-compete. But those are contracts that have, in many cases, separate consideration. I'm going to pay you not to do your job. I'm going to pay you.
Money. Yes.
Just giving someone the offer to do a job and then say you're going to be bound after we're done is ridiculous. No one should sign those things. If you sell a business, sure. The company that you sell to might say, hey, you did a great job. Don't do it again. Don't do it for somebody else. I get it. That makes sense. Yeah. This is absurd. FourKites should feel ashamed. All of the shareholders for FourKites, look at your leadership team. Look at these morons and what they're trying to do. Put out a non-competition agreement to people that are 6 months in, middle managers, cogs in the machine. If they're essential to your business isn't essential. And last thing I'll say, FourKites, I get it. Your differentiator is your algorithm. Love those algorithms. But how about we get rid of these post-employment restrictive covenants? It makes you look kind of stupid.
Wow. God, I love the fire. What are your real thoughts about this? That's what I wanted.
There are thousands back. There are thousands and thousands of people who are all across this country in different segments. I'll give you an example. Yeah. Nordstrom Rack had a business called Trunk Club. Trunk Club, you would send measurements in and they'd say, here's a design that's perfectly catered to what you want to look like. And those people that were the designers, they were signing non-competition agreements and they were litigating them. Nordstrom was suing them, saying, you can't do this. It is bananas. Every industry that touches these freaking documents should be ashamed of yourselves. You should be ashamed of yourselves. And if you're not, pay separate consideration. Pay them separately.
And that's my thing right there is I think that from the perspective of if you're going to be bound to a non-compete, it should come with compensation. If you want somebody to not work in the industry for 6 months or a year, pay them to sit out. Otherwise, remove it entirely. I just don't feel the need, again, and this is for non-confidential proprietary information holding people. Like, again, when I was a desk level employee at a large freight broker, I wasn't sitting in on fucking potential altering, shifting of the business conversations. I was just a fucking carrier rep. You know what I mean? Or I was just a sales rep. I think that when it boils down to it, if you're going to force somebody to work there, I feel like, again, this is how I think it should go. Spell it out for them what it actually means. Don't put it on page 27 of the employee onboarding packet.
Absolutely.
Explain it out to them, or say, hey, listen, this is a non-compete. I want you to go and consult with somebody outside of this so you fully understand what you're saying. You have 24 hours or 36 hours or 48 hours to respond to this. It's just what we do. I think that is where a lot of these lines would become unblurred. Again, I'm not going to sit here and tell, for companies out there that have non-competes, that's their fucking decision at the end of the day. But my problem herein lies when there is, like I said, on page 27 of the employment contract, or they're not breaking it down for them what sitting out 1 year actually means. Because I think a lot of people are like, oh, whatever, I'll never leave. Like, you got your first job or your second job, you're like, fuck it, they're paying me $50K. Like, let's roll.
This is another thing to keep in mind, is that in those contracts, oftentimes when they're hidden and you're not able to review them, they have a clause that says you had the opportunity to review it with outside counsel. They say these things. The other part that is kind of the dirty secret of non-competition agreements, and anyone who's watching this now, go to endnoncompetes.com. You'll learn a lot about this. We've got the folks at Steam Logistics and Steve Cox. Great stuff they're doing. Many companies know these aren't enforceable. They know it. They know.
Yeah.
And they trust that most people can't afford an attorney and wouldn't try to litigate it. And then when they do eventually get out there and litigate it, the lawyers who are representing Four Kites here, they probably know what will happen, but they were probably told they had to do it anyway.
Yeah. I got a question to ask you then, knowing that. So I know some people who have left their employer, have gone to a new employer. The new employer who brought them on knew they had a non-compete and said, pre-employment, of course, this is all hearsay, legal term, right? This is not actually put in the contract that we will defend you if they come after you. Then they get their first cease and desist, and then boom, they're fucking fired.
Yeah,
from the new employer.
That's anyone who promises you something that's not in writing. Just assume it's not going to work. Just assume that that's what's going to happen. And same with signed documents. Assume that they will be enforced against you. That is how this stuff works. Now, there are claims that you can do in certain cases if someone tries to go after you with a non-compete and you lose your job. We call it tortious interference with contract. There are litigation things you can do. See, that's the thing. Most of these companies that do this non-competition, all this kind of stuff, they're cowards. They're cowards. And they know that they're not going to win, and they don't want to be in the public spotlight. They just want to make sure that the employment relationship between them and their person is at will. They can fire you for any reason that they want to, provided it's not one of the protected reasons. Yeah. But they want to still bind you. Imagine if you dated somebody and you said, hey, I think we should see other people, but specifically, you can't see anyone else like me for the next year. I mean, that's bananas. But that's the way that this stuff works. And you have to have time to review these documents. They are everywhere in every industry for every type of employee.
I get it, man. And again, I think, not here to knock any companies out there that do have it, but I feel like there's a right way and a wrong way of going through with a lot of these things. And it's just a practice that I want to see change. I think that, because another big one I think is also, it's like the non-solicitation agreement that people sign when they come on. I would advise anybody this. Again, I'm not an attorney. This is not legal advice. Do not take this as legal advice at all. But if you're going to come and bring a book of business somewhere, because I know that that's very appealing in the freight market, is, oh, if your book of business is transferable, this and that, and they want you to sign a non-solicit, have an exclusion list that any account you bring in leaves with you. Don't just pay attention to that stuff.
That's a great point. So for everyone who's watching this, a lot of your viewers are in the freight business and sales and marketing. These are all things you negotiate. So if someone presents you with a non-competition agreement, it's not that's the end of it. You negotiate, just like you negotiate for your time off, your other times of paid holidays, whatever things you can negotiate these things. I will say this, and I think the data will eventually support this, I suspect, that non-competition agreements disproportionately affect women, because in many circumstances, people are not used to negotiating for these things. I've been on a lot of teams over my career and worked with a lot of different clients. Some of the people on the team have non-competition agreements. Others don't because they negotiate, they fight against those things. These are things you can push back on. Same with the non-solicitation. These are all these post-employment restrictive covenants. Non-solicitation, very interesting piece. Not as dangerous, I think, as the non-competition. But if you bring existing clients to that new company, you don't have to put a non-solicitation on there. Exempt them. I'm totally with you there.
Yeah, no, I think it's just, again, it's just one of those things that you kind of learn in life. And that's just one thing I would highly recommend somebody looking into. All right. That article is from FreightWaves. Title of that article: Court denies Four-Kite's effort to block Project 44 hirings. We're going to get on to our second topic here this morning. Tara Brown, good morning. Stephen Peterson, what's up? Good morning. This one's coming from my friends over at the joc.com. Freight market death greatly exaggerated, according to Knight-Swift CEO. Which is a kind of a different tune than what was being planted last week from somebody who may or may not be from that company, that may or may not have said something eerily different in another article. But that's neither here nor there. We're here to talk about this article. It kind of starts out: the dividing lines in U.S. trucking are becoming clearer this year, with large motor carriers reporting no sign of demand decline despite tumbling spot market rates. The story will be different for smaller trucking firms that depend on the spot market for loads rather than direct relationships with shippers. Okay, so that first little snippet, again, should tell you everything you need to know. I want to break it down like this: contract versus spot. Like 80% of the freight that's out there is quote unquote contract. 20% is spot market freight. But of this freight, that does not account for 100% of the freight market, you guys, because that is only from companies who are willing to share their data on if that is a contracted load or if that is a spot market load. There is and this is what I mean by creating a market inside of the market. There is a massive sector of this industry who does not report this shit. The majority of this stuff, you got to think publicly traded. Again, I'm not a fucking expert here, but I'm assuming the majority of this freight is that is accounted for the contract and the spot market loads that you see out there. The majority of them are from large enterprise shippers who are publicly traded and or who choose to share their data with certain reporting agencies. This does not mean this is everybody. Okay. So again, I just want you guys to understand that, yeah, there are market shifts. Stuff happens. Markets change all the time, but don't pay attention to a couple of headlines and think that your business is fucking over. Okay. That is such a small sector. There are plenty of shippers out there who do not report to this stuff.
That's a great point, Chris. The thing is, if everything is an emergency or a crisis, then nothing is an emergency or a crisis. If you spent any time in this industry, for your viewers are watching, you and I both know this, there is always something going on in supply chain. There's always something. It's a cyclical business. And so what we're finding in the spot rates are going down, but the people who own big fleets of trailers, they're seeming to be okay. They have the capacity. They have these trailer pools. And I think when you talk about your sponsor VHub and building these trailer pools, it's very useful. I mean, this is how big freight gets won, is having access to trailer capacity. That's
exactly it.
That's why I love I love the sponsor. I love the model. The idea is, how do you free up capacity with trailers that aren't being utilized? Well, there's ways to do that. So this article, it does a really good job of breaking down that maybe the enterprise trucking companies, the ones with thousands or tens of thousands of trailers, are going to be fine. Guess what, everyone? They usually are. But the thing about really these big companies is, again, like, look at their operating ratios. Like, they're making money right now. But this industry, generally speaking, is not this 30% margin people think about. No, it's 5 or 10%, and you're lucky if you can get that. So no, absolutely. I'm with you. If people are selling you fear, it's because they need you to be afraid or angry. And in this case, it's just the market going the way that it goes.
Yeah. Thanks, Chandler. My friend Chandler, I thought that I was an expert. I'm really surprised that he's not to Craigslist. Fucking A, man. That guy just but yeah, and again, like, you guys should pay attention to this stuff, though, because the large enterprise companies out there that are saying this, that are reporting in this article, they're the massive companies, you guys, the Knight-Swifts, the Landstars, Heartland, JB Hunt, Martin, Pam. These are some of the flagship carriers that fucking put trucking on a map when all of their founders created that shit back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s and all of that other stuff. If they're telling you contracted freight is the way to go this year, How do I get contracted freight though? That's the thing, is it's not
Mm.
playing that spot market that's out there. It is going to your shippers in your local community, defining a couple areas that you want to do, and ask them about that. Ask them about that. If I'm located here in Phoenix, Arizona. If I want to trek and stay within a 500-mile radius, maybe I just want to run the Western 7, for example. We'll exempt California from this because fucking fuel is like $12,000 a gallon. But say you want to run the historical Western 7, go in there and talk to them about that. Talk to them about the fact that, hey, I have 2 dry vans or I have 2 reefers. These are the lanes that I like to run. If I want to run 700 miles, say, between here and Reno, it's about 700 miles. Ask them about freight going up into there. Maybe it is over into Northern California, the Sacramento area, or maybe it's over into Salt Lake City. Be very specific about this, you guys, and ask them about that. They want to work with small carriers. There is plenty of freight out there for you to become dedicated. Okay.
Yeah,
and that's what you need to present it on, because again, if the mega fleets are saying they're going contract, the trickle down effect is the smaller fleets and the smaller trucking companies need to adopt that this year. But here's how you do it. Just show up at these shippers. All right. You literally have, as a freight broker, 90% of the time you're given the objection of this: we're asset only. You guys are already 90% of the battle won right there. Now, are some of these large enterprise shippers going to set you up with 2 trucks? Probably not. But shout out to my friends at Emerge. I got to give them a plug here. They have a tool for you where you can get access to this freight. But again, you guys, you got to think outside of the box that's out there right now. Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
I was gonna say, at the end of the day, truck drivers are multi-homing. They're looking for loads through a variety of different ways, whether that's through load boards, through digital freight matching companies, even working with power only for these massive dedicated shippers. Your job as a driver is to find profitable loads. No one is looking out to find you specifically profitable loads. That's your business to figure out how to do that. And there will always be freight moving. There will always be freight moving. And so if you're able to find the different platforms to find profitable loads, you will be successful.
Absolutely. Tim Wells and Andrew Teal all got great points out there in the comments. That, if rates go up 50 cents a mile, it's a blip. And if they go down 6%, 6 cents per mile, it's a bloodbath. It doesn't make sense. You're right. And then, just pay attention to the reports. Exactly. Q1 earnings are fucking through the roof. I don't think that there's a shortage of stuff going on, but that's not to say that that can't progress. That can't happen. It can happen again, but what is the biggest underlying factor is that regardless of where the market sits, you guys, freight will still move. Carriers out there, I know diesel's like fucking $5 a gallon out there, but you average about $8 8 miles per gallon. So that's, I'm terrible at math, but that's anywhere from like 60 to 65 cents a mile what you need just for fuel. All right. So utilize that when you're out there pricing, because I see stuff all the time that, I'm not going to run my truck for under $4 a mile. That's your prerogative. Cool. But again, shout out to Adam Wingfield, who may or may not be on this week, about knowing your costs and everything. You can look at it from a different perspective. Tim Wells. Yes. Large shippers have a split between contract and spot. The spot market is planned. Very true. Ad hoc lanes happen every week. Exactly. Again, it's just like, and then furthermore, like my friends, Big Ed and Ed Jr. at Burns Logistics, you guys, like they are like, if you're a trucking company and you might not have time to sell your services because you are running that, just like my old man did for 40 years, he ran his own thing. They are out there to help find you that freight as well. So again, there's resources out there. It's just about looking for that resource, find that solution. Yeah, Chandler, I can't take anything he says seriously right now after that. Again, that article, again, well-written article from my friends over at the JOC, title of it, Freight Market Death Greatly Exaggerated. Now, here's the final article we're going to talk about. And again, this is something that, talking about driver retention and fucking everything else under the sun. This is from FreightWaves as well. 3 more sentenced and rolls for staging truck and bus accidents in Louisiana. This is, this is one of those things that I think that, again, I'm not an attorney. I don't know this shit, but I think some of these sentences are pretty much a fucking slap on the wrist for knowingly causing harm and or death to themselves, essentially, by doing a lot of this. So essentially, in Louisiana, there's a staged accident scheme receiving significant different sentences in the latest injunction of earlier guilty pleas that were made out there. One received 3 years probation for her role. that struck a bus. Another defendant received 5 years probation. And that was with a major trucking company that they staged that out there. And another one too, they're like, this one's another big one too, 18 months in jail on that. Again, like this is some of the stuff out there. Cause like this is after the fact, you guys, that these trucking companies were slapped with fucking $2, $3, $4 million injunctions against them for something that they didn't even fucking cause. How in the world, like, okay. So from your perspective here, how did one get caught? Did somebody have a stroke of clarity? Like, I think we're fucking too many people over.
I think this is a really fascinating case. So after I had a chance to read the article we first talked about that highlighted these, what seemed to be kind of minor sentences for a very massive, it appears to be, scheme around using fraud to bilk money out of carriers. I did some more digging and I learned about the attorney who handled most of these things.
Ooh.
And that attorney has been disbarred at this point. Mr. Danny Keating. Yeah, he resigned from the practice in November of 2020. He was involved with 71 plaintiffs with 31 orchestrated accidents. What typically happens in these investigations is lower players are pled out. So when you go to criminal prosecutions, you generally settle 95% of them. Yeah. And you come to the person and say, here's what's going to happen. You can fight me. You can get your time with the jury. Your outcome is likely going to be 5 to 10 years, or you can plea and help us. So Mr. Keating has 3 other attorneys who have been unnamed so far and will likely be part of a much broader investigation as to what actually is going on. This type of fraud is not new. It is not new. Anybody who has ever run any type of commercial fleet knows there are people that go, I bet they have a lot of insurance, and they'll find ways to get rear-ended. They'll find ways to hit or sideswipe. And what ends up happening is people start getting mad and saying, oh, there's too much plaintiff's action out here. We need to do some tort reform. That's not the right reaction. The reaction should be, we need more cameras, because that's how you prove when they're a fraud. What I'll mention here, another thing about some of these verdicts, most people don't know how money is calculated in personal injury litigation. Sure. Generally speaking, the number comes from how much money you spent in medical bills. We call them specials. So I look at your specials and I say, okay, you spent $500,000 in medical bills. I will then give you probably $500,000 in punitive damages if it's something that's really significant, or pain and suffering. So it's not like these people, in some cases, might have actually been injured in the process of doing very stupid things. Between a car and a truck or a bus, the truck or the bus always wins.
Generally speaking, I think, again, like I understand where, when it comes down to cameras and everything else, no, Chandler, I wasn't alive. I was born in 1986. I know, I'm just a baby. I wear glasses because my eyes are starting to fall apart, sir. God, he's brutal.
Look, my father was roadway in 1976. This is before deregulation. The very first day at one of the terminals he was overseeing, he was threatened, and they had an envelope of money. And he took it away and said, "Oh, we're not doing this." Trucking has changed manifestly over the last 40 or 50 years. The things that I don't like is driver compensation going down, bathroom accessibility going down, parking being unavailable, and then us generally as a bunch of supply chain people buying shit every single day, looking down on these people. It's absurd. So I love trucking. I've been in this business for only 12 years myself, but I'm a big fan.
I get it, man. Again, that article was from FreightWaves. It's titled 3 Sentence for Roles in Staging Truck and Bus Accidents. And again, it's like, dude, again, like this has been going on for a while. I understand that. There's a lot of shit that's out there, but it always brings me back down to, what are we going to do to retain people? Like what can we do? I mean, I personally think that, I get it from the sentencing perspective. Chances are they cooperated. And that's why their sentences are what they are. But I think that, what can we do more? It is that awareness. It is that education that's out there. I know a lot of drivers who may or may not like the cameras. Like inward facing. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be fucking watched 24/7. I don't have my tinfoil hat on me right now about that, but outward facing cameras, again, I think they're a massive value add because of situations like this. Like that would put to bed a lot of these things as well. And especially like with your e-logs are tracking how fast you're going. They can compare that data that's out there. And it's just one of those situations to protect you as a trucking company. Yeah, it's the envelopes of cash. I'm right there with you, Chandler. I know, because that's the thing, man, is it's like up until my old man passed away, knowing like all the stuff that he went through out on the road. And again, like I'm going to get into that in my podcast this week. I talked to a couple of people out there. And again, I want to hear from more drivers. You are always welcome to come and talk on my shows, no matter what. There's no fear of retribution or anything out there. Because again, we got to hear from everybody. And that goes to the fucking dock workers and everything. Because like not everybody is immune to this. I want to progress this industry forward, but it has to start at the people who clearly feel the most neglected by a lot of this stuff. And it has to start with the truck driver. I got a soft spot for drivers. I have family that drive still to this day. They're out there on the road week in and week out. My dad drove for 40 years. And I know that's why a lot of us are in this industry, is through that. So again, we just need to take a hard look at this. And I will say this until I die. The American truck driver, this trucking and transportation industry, we are the backbone of the U.S. economy. All right. Yeah. You know what? Could we do a little bit of a difference on some training and everything else? I want to see more training. But at the end of the day, I believe in the American dream. I'm fucking living the American dream. I want to protect the American dream, and I want to keep people in business. All right. I want to retain drivers. We need more drivers. We need to do a better job here as an industry. We need to all put our fucking swords down and accept the fact that for us to progress, we all need to change. Be the change that you want. That's kind of it for time today. Thank you all for joining. Matt Leffler, how does anybody reach out to the Armchair Attorney?
You can find me at armchairattorney.com. I have a LinkedIn page with Matthew Leffler, or I'll look up Armchair Attorney. There's a Twitter handle, Armchair Addy, and then there is also a YouTube channel. Search for Armchair Attorney. There is very few things more difficult than safely delivering freight on time and undamaged. And the more we talk about how hard that is, the more people realize how necessary that profession is. And when you can, if you see the wrong thing, speak out. For kites, I see something wrong. I'm speaking out. Get rid of your non-competes, you idiots. It's gonna backfire. You're gonna look like a moron. Oh.
That's exactly it. Again, guys, I try and keep this down to 30 minutes. I appreciate you guys all tuning in. Who knows? This will probably expand out more. I go live every single weekday from 10:30 Central to 11 a.m. Central. Every single weekday, we're breaking down the article. I'm bringing a different perspective. I'm not about doom and gloom. I'm not about fucking anything other than people progressing and staying in business. I'm going to give you a different perspective out there. I have 15 years industry experience, and I just want to help educate individuals to keep trucks in business, keep brokers in business, and help everybody preserve the American dream. I'm a massive proponent of that. And again, thank you guys all. Shout out to my friends over at VHub. Check them out right now, vhubapp.com. Reach out to my friend Xavier Campos. He's your point of contact over there. Just let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. I appreciate you guys all so much. We'll be back tomorrow.